reason we're here today is to have an inquiry into the role that Diarmuid MacMurrough played in the arrival of the Normans in Ireland. The inquiry is being presided over by Miss Justice Deirdre Murphy of the Irish High Court. My name is Hugh McDowell and I'm counsel appearing on behalf of the inquiry. Adrian O'Higgins BL is appearing on behalf of the Normans. Declan Harmon BL is appearing on behalf of the Gaels. And William Prasifka BL is appearing on behalf of Diarmuid MacMurrough himself. Before we begin with the first witness, there's one procedural point that needs to be addressed, which is the fact that Diarmuid MacMurrough himself isn't appearing, and he's not here, and he's not going to be giving evidence. And I'd invite Mr. Prasifka maybe to address the inquiry as to why that is the case.
Yes, well, on that point, I just want to say that my client is a king. He is King of Leinster, and he is a senior king. And the law is very clear on this point. My client cannot be coerced, and my client cannot be controlled. The Irish High Court has absolutely no authority to rule on any matter concerning my client, and this entire proceedings should be dismissed.
Well, if one were to accede to your application, it would be a very short day. In any event, from what we heard earlier, I think you should probably have a scapegoat here in his stead.
Clearly, justice is going missing today.
Very well, we'll proceed.
Yes. So the first witness we're going to hear from is Maurice O'Regan. So I'd invite Maurice O'Regan to take the witness stand, please.
I'm Maurice O'Regan.
And Mr. O'Regan, could you describe your relationship with Diarmuid MacMurrough to the inquiry?
I was Diarmuid MacMurrough's personal secretary, counsellor, interpreter and ambassador. I served him for some 20 years at home and in exile. I was with him when he left Ireland for Wales and with him in his journey through France to seek out Henry II. It was I he sent to Wales to recruit swords to help him reclaim his kingdom. I was with him throughout his campaign, and I'm proud to have served him.
Thank you, Mr. O'Regan. You might answer any questions that Mr. O'Higgins has for you.
Mr. O'Regan, I appear on behalf of the Norman legal team, and I have a number of short questions for you, which you might address to the judge here in court. Mr. O'Regan, would I be correct in saying that you are familiar with La Geste, which is otherwise known as the Song of Dermot and the Earl? My understanding is that it is a 13th century poem which describes many of the events of interest to us here today, and particularly how Diarmuid lost his kingdom and travelled overseas to seek aid from my client. Isn't that correct?
I am familiar with that work, yes.
And would it be fair to say, Mr. O'Regan, that not only are you familiar with it, but you were the prime informant for this poem, providing an eyewitness account of those various events?
Well, since the poet was kind enough to refer to me specifically in his text, I can hardly deny it.
Well, there we are. I think that's a yes from Mr. O'Regan. Very well. Our only intention here was to show that you are a prime witness and a man in the position to observe all that went on, and indeed a man whose profession dependent on a good memory and accurate interpretation of those events. Isn't that correct? A straightforward question for you is not the case. Sorry, my apologies. A straightforward question for you. Is it not the case that there was no invasion at all in Ireland? Isn't it the case that Diarmuid, King of Leinster, actually invited my client, Earl Richard, or Strongbow, as some may call him here, to come to Ireland to aid him in the recovery of his kingdom?
That is absolutely correct. I was there when Diarmuid spoke to Henry and sought his aid, and I was personally involved in recruiting support among Henry's subjects in Wales for Diarmuid's campaign.
Isn't it also true that Diarmuid offered Earl Richard the hand of his daughter Aoife in marriage, and that this was done willingly and out of a desire to create a strong, permanent and family alliance?
That is true, yes. But I should point out that he also offered Aoife to Robert Fitzstephen as well. My lord Diarmuid like to keep these options open.
I have no further questions for you, Mr. O'Regan, but I understand that the Gaelic legal team might have questions for you.
Certainly do. Mr. O'Regan, can I put it to you that we can see exactly what sort of person here that Diarmuid is, prepared to sell his own daughter for swords? And by what right did Diarmuid offer Aoife, a Gaelic princess, to a foreigner, and presume likewise to give away his kingdom to that same foreigner as well?
I think we could do away with this false sense of outrage here at Aoife's behalf. Daughters, even princesses, are in the charge of their father, and he decides how and where they are wed. Aoife knew full well her father needed to make an alliance, and that her marriage with Earl Richard would cement that. She did her duty and made a good marriage with a great man. As to giving away his kingdom, there is clearly some confusion here. Diarmuid never promised kingship to Earl Richard, merely that he would rule in Leinster after him. Diarmuid intended to be High King, and his sons would succeed to that after him. His daughter's sons would hold Leinster. Earl Richard's rule would be more of a temporary nature, pending a little restructuring.
Well, there we have it, condemned from the lips of his own advisor. Diarmuid MacMurrough intended nothing less than regime change at a national level. Isn't that the case?
I do not deny that. Why should my lord not desire regime change? Why should he not claim the High Kingship? His claim is at least as valid as your client's. Rory O'Connor, the last man to claim the High Kingship. Diarmuid's great-grandfather, Diarmuid MacMurrough was High King, and my lord was simply asserting a right to the High Kingship that had been established long before. In any case, we all know that the High Kingship is there for whoever can win and hold it by power of force. If Diarmuid became the most powerful king in Ireland, why should he not be High King?
Thank you, O'Regan. Please answer any questions that my friend Mr. Prasifka may have for you.
Yes, just a few questions. Now, I'm correct in saying that you knew Diarmuid. You served with him. He was a friend of yours. Is that correct?
That is correct.
And you may have heard him as being reviled as a cruel and ruthless king who stands accused by many of multiple crimes. Now, how does this view of Diarmuid correspond with the man that you knew?
Not at all. Diarmuid was a great king. Yes, he could be ruthless, but a king must be ruthless. Yes, he was ambitious, but that is no crime. If you ask me, he was more sinned against than sinning. He was just 16 when he became King of Leinster in the year of 1126, and 2 years later found himself attacked without provocation by the High King, whose armies ravaged his kingdom, slaughtered his people, and destroyed his livestock and crops. Diarmuid was ruined, and the Norse of Dublin, who owed him allegiance, sent him away. He was reduced to nothing. The man who did that, the vicious and cruel commander of the High King's army, has always hated Diarmuid and has always desired his destruction.
And that man, the man of which you speak, is he here today?
He is.
Can you identify him, please, for this inquiry?
He is that man there.
Where? Please point again.
King of Brefty, Tiernan O'Ruairc.
Is this not the man whose wife Diarmuid is accused of kidnapping?
Very wrongly accused, Judge.
I see. Well, did he or didn't he kidnap her? Dervorgilla, I believe the lady's name was.
He did not. He rescued her. They loved each other.
My lord, this is really unbelievable. The woman was kidnapped, or at the very least was tricked into leaving with Diarmuid. We heard about this poem earlier, the Song of Dermot and the Earl, for which O'Regan has provided all the information. Can I suggest to the court that it asks him to read the relevant passage from that? I have the document here, my lord.
O'Regan?
About King Dermot I will tell. Dermot, King of Leinster, whom this lady loves so much. The lady referred to here is Dervorgilla. Judge, I think that makes it quite clear. They were in love.
My lord, can I suggest that the witness reads the rest?
Very good.
Dermot, King of Leinster, made pretence to love, her while he did not love her at all.
Speak up, please. Speak up, please. Would you repeat?
I beg your pardon?
Would you speak up, please? Would you repeat the last portion?
Dermot, King of Leinster, made pretence to her of loving while he did not love her at all.
Thank you.
He manipulated her. Isn't that true, O'Regan? He manipulated her. Dermot pretended to love her so she would elope with him, so she could revenge himself on her husband, Tiernan O'Ruairc.
No comment.
Do you wish to reply?
No comment.
Judge, I think I have a particular insight on this, and perhaps is the real reason that everyone here is so worked up about this abduction, about this kidnapping, or eloping, or whatever you want to call it. Isn't the real reason simply that Diarmuid didn't pay O'Ruairc the honour price for stealing his wife? Nobody cares about the lady, it's all about the money. Isn't that correct?
Is that the case?
Yes.
Well, listen, my lord, under Gaelic law, Irish law, there is a price to be paid for an insult like this, and Diarmuid did not pay it.
I see.
That's not true. At least that's not strictly true. Isn't the case that Diarmuid MacMurrough did in fact pay the honour price?
Yes, he did. It was a bit late. About 14 years late.
Thank you very much.
But he paid it, 100 ounces of gold.
Thank you very much. The court will note that my client has paid the honour price.
I see. Thank you. You may step down.